giving up. Giving up on relationships, careers, and society as a whole. Resentment is growing, unemployment is becoming rampant, and keeping your head above water seems almost impossible for many men today. This is leading to more men than ever dropping out of society entirely. And it's not just that, men are becoming infantilized. With terms like adulting now becoming normal, it's clear that something ugly is happening that needs to be addressed. We live in such a strained, unnatural environment that is bound to start to wear on society, but men in particular are battling to keep up and are slowly giving up. Giving up on dreams, giving up on trying, and giving up on doing anything constructive. And for a large part, it's really not their fault, as this trend isn't just a personal struggle, but a societal issue that we must urgently address. So why is this happening? And why has it gotten so bad in 2024? On the surface, it's a long and complicated story. Life has never been simple.
Welcome on into another episode of the Healthy Discussion Show, and today we're going to discuss men. We're going to discuss masculinity. We're going to discuss the decline in it. We're going to discuss the decline in testosterone and why, when the goings get tough, get even tougher. That's what I was told. When the going get tough, get even tougher, right? Be above average at all times, because average right now and mediocre, it never worked and it never will work. And that's just the honest truth, right? So let's dive into it. Smash that like button if you agree. Subscribe to the channel. This one right here is presented by Moon. I'm going to leave the link down below. You can go check Moon out. He does a wonderful job. He or she does a wonderful job. I believe it's a he. He does a wonderful job of explaining a lot of different things, and he put it in like animation form. So this is, once again, a reaction video to this. So let's go.
For any human, and objectively speaking, for men in the West today, it's never been better. We have all the technology we need, food delivered to.
Right, we have all the technology we need, food delivered to your house, but that just makes society, to me, a bit lazier, right? A bit more comfortable, a bit, let's just say a bit more dependent, not independent. So that can pose a big problem in this world when you depend on things so much. Even if you depend on the government, that's no good. Depending on anything for so long isn't good. Now, depending on yourself is the best thing possible. Being a free, independent thinker is the best thing possible. Accomplishing your goals is the best thing possible. Things like those, right, are the best thing possible. Making sure you could take care of your family, your loved ones is the best things possible. But let's go.
Dating readily available to anyone with a simple swipe. Any products, items, or experiences that you want can be had with the tap of your phone. But over time, all of these comforts of life destroys the importance and necessity of struggle. Without any value placed on higher goals, where there just is no reason to care, means there's...
It's a saying that once go like this, right? Men, right? They say good men are created throughout bad times, right? And bad men are created throughout bad times. Okay. Good men is created. It's easy for a good man to be a good man throughout good times, but it's more difficult for a good man to be a good man throughout bad times. So all I'm saying is that adversity, when it hits, just always overcome. That's my solution. Always overcome. Always, work out, go to the gym, make sure you have a body fit that you want it to be, how you want to look. Become an action figure, right? Become an action figure. Make sure you can provide for whoever you want to provide for and more, But let's continue.
There's no reason for people to properly live or have the will to achieve greatness, which is probably why 40% of young men aged 18 to 45 meet the criteria for depression and 49% of 18 to 20.
Whoa, pay attention to them stats. 49% has thought about it on average. That's basically saying for every two men that you see, one of them had the thought. That's crazy to me. Don't let anything get you like that. It's not worth it. And it all starts in your head. It all starts in your mind. If you tell your mind to do something, your body then follows, right? Of course, with some action and everything else. But if your mind is compromised, Don't ever allow it to be compromised. Because you got to understand, that's why I tell people every day we are at war. Especially if you're a man. Every day you are at war, no matter if you want to believe it or not, right? You're at war. So make sure that you're prepared to fight every day. Every day is it, and it's worth it too, because there's nothing other than conquering and building and creating the dream and the life that you want on this planet Earth. Ain't no better feeling than that, right? And I'm in the pursuit of it all. I'm in the pursuit of it all. That's why I can relate to this video to let y'all know, hey, look, um, everything gonna be all right as long as you understand that, with pain comes with struggle. It actually makes you into a better person. Think about it like this: if you had it easy, your life on easy mode, your whole life, what kind of man are you? You won't be considered a man at all. You might be a soft man, a soft-spoken man. You won't be considered a masculine man. You won't be considered the man that goes on out there with good intentions and integrity and have good values, have good morals. You won't be that kind of guy, right? So keep your head way above average, right? And always keep it in a positive space, right? That's why it pays to work out. It pays to meditate. It pays to have a list of things that you want to get done on this world. It pays to add value, right? All these things pay off. Am I saying that these things are easy? No, but I was told what comes easy, later on, you're going to have a hard life. So you might as well deal with the difficult things now, right? So you can then go on to the easier life. You know, that's the point of it. You can't just have your life on easy mode and expect abundance and everything else to come from that. I don't think that will work at all. In fact, I know that don't work. But let's continue.
23-year-olds have had a thought of passing themselves in the past 2 weeks alone. And we're seeing the symptoms of this problem everywhere. The sapping away of our vision and ambition permeates in all aspects of modern society today. Our culture, architecture, relationships, bodies, and minds. Past civilizations before us have always placed their emphasis on beauty, wisdom, and logic for all the population to see, with great town squares, bustling with art, life, and community. These things were placed above all else as the bedrock of their societies, laying out a code of honor and struggle in its people to achieve greatness. Comforts were shown in art and culture, but as an aspiration for achieving something great.
And the way I see it is he's right on point. These stats, and it's good to look at stats, right? It's good to look at stats so you know where you're at in life and where you want to be.
For following your mastery, but today our cities are mostly devoid of all of this character, and instead they're marked out by the most cost-efficient, bland, and sterile designs to facilitate a simpler, self-motivated purpose. It's why people flock all over the world to a handful of remaining cities that retain their centuries-old charm to feel and experience the character of bygone societies that were motivated higher ideals greater than our modern two-dimensional ways of thinking. With a prioritization of comfort, lust and opulence, and flashy materialism over individual excellence and greater community, we're now reeling in the aftermath, becoming instead a generation of mandated mediocrity. And just this
Let's run that back right there.
Prioritization of comfort, lust and opulence, and flashy materialism.
This is our problem right here. Comfort, lust, opulence, and materialism. He highlighted it quite well. Let me repeat. Comfort, never get comfortable because nothing comes to one that's comfortable but diseases or anything along that nature. Never get too comfortable in this world, right? Never get too comfortable. Lust, we all know what that is. Everyone's sex drive is out the water. If you look at any type of videos, that's all you see. These apps, these dating apps. You think it's dating apps? To me, it's sex apps to me. Like you linking up for what? What's your core values? What's your principles? We just gonna hit it and then what? Then after a while, you get up age. Now you feel meaningless, right? Opulence, that's definitely true. And materialism, we all know that that's extremely true, right? We care about how we look on the outside rather than how we are on the inside, which is absolutely inverse. It should be the opposite way around. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. In fact, it should be both. You should look good on the inside and even better. You should look good on the outside, but even better on the inside, because appearance is key as well, right? But if you're looking good and you're unhealthy, what's the point? If you have millions of dollars, you can get anything that you want, billions of dollars, do whatever you want, and you don't have a lack of health, right? then what's the point? You won't see yourself living long enough to even spend and or to even donate the money to a good cause. You won't even see yourself do that. So these are the things to me that's actually crippling society: comfort, lust, opulence, and materialism. Let's get it. Great points.
Over individual excellence and greater community, we're now reeling in the aftermath, becoming instead a generation of mandated mediocrity. And does this explain why men today seem to struggle more than ever while seemingly having more than ever?
That's why I say being mediocrity is no point. You have to be above average at all point. Average, what's that? Like literally, what's that? You damn near have to be superior. You can't be average in a world that, say for instance, you have a regular job, right? Life itself is going to eat you up alive. You got things called inflation. You got things called taxes, right? You have society that's trying to beat you down every day in different ways, right? You got toxic people around you. You have toxic thoughts. So mediocrity isn't allowed. Average shouldn't be allowed. It actually shouldn't even be in your vocab. It shouldn't. You should be above average. You should be always reaching for something, reaching for the stars, reaching for the moon, reaching for something, always challenging yourself to do something better and bigger than you did yesterday, right? That's just my thoughts. What you guys think? Leave them comments down below.
America in particular is not actually in a recession. In fact, on paper, the economy looks like the best it's been in a while. Unemployment.
Listen to this. And so much money is being moved right above your head while everyone is distracted. So much money is to be made in this world while everybody else is distracted. Let's continue.
Has dropped, GDP is up. But what the people are actually experiencing is a completely different story. We can see this in a study by the University of Michigan on consumer sentiments, which gathers data based on how consumers feel about the current state of finances. In 2022, it dropped to an all-time low. Prices of our average daily needs like gas and food have increased in unbearable percentages. In contrast, salary increases do not.
This right here is my business.
And I believe that. That at the end of the day, right? If a lot of money being transferred and the rich keep on getting richer and it's a bigger gap between either you have it or you don't, that's a form of communism. So I think we're actually suffering from the effects of communism. Literally. I think we're actually suffering from the effects of communism and Marxism, to be exact. Because this is what happened in a modern day society when the laws and or your ability to gain is manipulated or
a high strain of budgets.
Inflation is showing no signs of slowing down as Americans pay over $1,000 a month more on the same essentials we were buying 3 years ago. Nothing's changed but price. The latest consumer price index for March showing basic necessities like our food, housing, and gas are all continuing to cripple Americans' wallets with higher prices.
Our wages are actually down against inflation.
And I wanted to point this out too, right? It's all about commodities. I've looked at it. I'm reading this book and it's all about commodities. Think about it. Oil prices, wheat prices, gas prices, all these things, no matter how much money you think you have, right? If you don't have the actual natural resource, you're still in the race. If you're not an innovator, you're still in a race. If you're not 10 times above average, you're still going to be in the rat race. Let's continue.
Since Biden took office. So not only are prices soaring, but our wages, at least if you measure hourly wages, are not keeping up at all.
Keeping your head above water has become the new normal instead of owning a home with a white picket fence. The rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer, with the middle class disintegrating completely. All the knowledge of the past of just going to college, getting a job, and buying a home immediately is just completely irrelevant for anyone working and living in 2024.
I don't think it actually makes sense in 2024. See, back in your parents' day, they could get a house, get a white picket fence. It was easier to attain. Let's just say that. Now, just because it's difficult to attain, and now in today's society, it doesn't mean that it's not worthwhile, because that's the aim, that's the mission. You should build your house instead of buying it. You something like these are the things that you should think about. Think about what you want to do in this world and set forth some action and some plans in order to do it. I believe that anybody could do it. As long as you remain focused, as long as you keep striving, you keep educating yourself, you put yourself around people that's like-minded that will take you there. So you're building out your network at the same time. You're working out, you're making sure that your mental straight and your health is straight. You're making sure that your family dynamics is straight, your core values is straight, y'all have your non-negotiables and things along that nature. You have some type of principles and morals, and you keep on going forward, right? You keep on going forward. So I'm very optimistic. I always believe that anybody could do it if you put your mind to it. But let's continue. Action 2.
Universities are skyrocketing in prices to absurd levels. The housing market is in a complete giant bubble. Everyone's sending out job applications more and more, all while using these automated testing systems, applying up to 100 jobs a day and still not getting anywhere. All the while major companies repeatedly tell us that they can't find any workers for their companies. And the results of this are clear. People are drifting towards more unfulfilling jobs, or just not even having a job at all, while the rich buy up resources, real estate, and everything that used to be the cornerstones of the middle class that is now just an investment hidden through an offshore bank account for some giant investment fund.
Basically, what they want to do is create a nation of renters. BlackRock coming in and giving them more money than the house is worth.
How much more do they give them?
They can give them, 30% above.
Really?
Which is money.
And then they just
it's
lease those
BlackRock.
homes out.
And they lease them out.
But it's like 30%. What's that after taxes? You slash that in half, right? That's like 15% sellout. That's a sellout. So if you have a home, I don't know why you would do that, and why not hold it for the long term, right? Why not pass it down? But this is not financial advice. If you have something called BlackRock, and we all know they're a big conglomerate, that's like the big money. That's part of the machine. If they buy you out 3 times the amount or 30% of what you originally paid for it, right? Imagine what they think that it's worth. If they wanted to buy you out at that percentage, what do y'all think it's really worth? A fortune. Because they understand most people aren't going to be able to afford. Rent's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5,000. Next time you check in 10 years, it might be starting out at 3,000. It seems like every 7 years it go up. Let's just say every 10 years, every decade, it go up by 1,000. At least by 700, 800. So think about it. It goes up while your wages is still steady. $20 an hour, $25 an hour, $30 an hour, $35 an hour, $45 an hour. You really got to make it make sense. Then we got to think about, okay, cool. You want the house, you want the family, you want the dogs, you want this, you want that. You're looking at you at least need to make $300,000 to $500,000 a year, and the average person isn't doing it. That's why I say we got to cut out this average talk, because the average person is never going to make it make sense. It's only the above average or the elite or the entrepreneurs that's trying to strive to get somewhere and or conquer their quest. That's the only people that will be able to do these things. But let's continue.
It's part of this idea that home ownership and automobile ownership and all of these things, these legacy systems that people want to get rid of. And they go, rent a house, use Uber, Lyft, whatever. You don't need to own. What does owning do for you? That's that famous article, you'll own nothing and be happy.
Right.
And because of this, also,
to me, I think owning does a lot for you. It does more than simply renting. Owning literally can do a lot for you. Because if you own something, then you can take the equity out. You can roll it over to something else. You own the car. Instead of you renting the car, you own the car. You could put it on the market for somebody else to rent it from you. So I think ownership is definitely key. I don't care what they say about renters. Renters actually pay the owners. So I don't know how they making renters so popular when that's not really the case. It's actually the total opposite. If you're just a free thinker, if you see things for what it is, not for what they say. But let's continue. Smash that like button. Tell a friend and tell a friend.
saving plans for regular people are halted because living paycheck to paycheck means there just isn't enough for a savings plan. And whilst there is still some hope to dig your way out, for most this does begin a damaged path. People end up working in a job that's not in their field, something that they hate to do every day. and eliminates the experience they need for the job in their field. And so even the experience they are getting is just completely useless for getting back on track. In effect, they're now
Mae, una pregunta. Si usted tuviera que invertir $100, ¿cómo los invertiría? Más que me sobraron de mi salario y no quiero.
entry-level position is further deviating them from becoming lawyers, psychologists, or whichever career path they studied for. And if the middle class is experiencing this, then the lower earners are feeling this even more. The jobs they once had a chance of landing now go to the middle class, while they get hit a bump lower, which is putting millions of people in dire straits. They face working twice as hard for minimum wage, juggling between jobs, partaking in the gig economy with absolutely no security, all with an extreme pressure to keep up with daily expenses in a completely overpriced megacity. And the truth is, both middle and lower earners are now taking a huge hit to their egos. They feel disrespected through no fault of their own, as no man wants.
I think it's either you're rich or you're not rich at all. It's either you're part of the top 10% or you're just the 90% of people. And the gap is going to continue to rise. It's going to continue. So it's not even us that we should be worried about. It's our kids that we should be worried about. It's the generations. Notice I said generations beneath us. The second and third generation after us, those are the people that we really have to worry about. They won't have savings. They won't have the ability to own if you don't pass it down and or set up a trust fund or set up some type of financial aspect or instrument for their life. That's the only thing that makes sense. But the average person not even talking about that. The average person don't know nothing about that. You know, in an information or in an era where you can access whatever information you want to access and you can apply it. Once you apply it, right, that you can make it a reality. Especially if it's worthwhile. Information without application is no point. It's like you having a phone and you and without the apps on it. What's the point? But you're gonna keep going traditional route. Let me go on the internet browser. Like, that takes too long. Give me the app so I can hop in and apply it to what I need to apply it to and keep it moving. Let's continue. This was a great video. Once again, this is by Moon. Go check him out. Type in Moon in your search on YouTube. Go check him out.
Wants to feel like a failure. They don't want to feel like they're not providing or on their destiny. Imagine putting in the hours and effort to get a degree and then having to take a job that's not even within the field you studied for. Well, this is just regular life for most people nowadays. It's making men feel incredibly depressed and isolated. They watch all this stuff on social media. They see people flexing the Rolexes on their Instagram stories. Meanwhile, they're struggling to survive, living a life they absolutely hate. And when friends and family ask about it, they suffer the humiliation of explaining why they had to take what was available. Even though it isn't humiliating at all, and they're doing what they can to survive, it definitely takes a huge effect on their mental health, especially as it wasn't that long ago, where it was actually normal to enter the workforce with a mentor who would show you the ropes and encourage you and push you to learn more. Starting at the bottom didn't seem so bad because there was an opportunity to grow and reap more rewards, but this imperative step is slowly slipping away. Companies of prestige have forgotten the generation with no experience, and for many companies, this is what they want. This is actually the ideal scenario, where they have people so desperate, so in need of experience, that they can treat their workers like absolute trash. Since the 1980s, testosterone levels have dropped more than 50%, and yet we're told to ignore it. Why?
Whoa, listen to this. Men's testosterone levels declined in the last 20 years. What? 50%? It's too much estrogen. It's too much lack of not conquering things. Most of the men don't even work out no more. I'm like, wow, why not? You gain some testosterone from working out. You know that, right? You know that, right? So, and also it's in your foods that you're eating as well. All these chemically induced foods, I got to quit it. Maybe going to a 1-ingredient diet. That's the best thing to me. A 1-ingredient diet. Read what you're actually consuming and putting in your body, because it's directly affecting your chemical reaction within your body. It's directly affecting it. Even diabetes is going up. It's like, what? Because all people eat is sugar. Did y'all know that rice breaks down to sugar? Most of the things that you eat breaks down to salt or sugar. So be very mindful or be very careful of what you're doing, because these are the reasons why you have low testosterone. The fruits ain't fruits no more. They're genetically modified. Be careful of what you think that's healthy, because you literally have to do your research nowadays. If you don't, my God.
Because there's a coordinated effort to suppress masculinity and turn men into something they were never meant to be. This decline is no accident. We're constantly exposed to.
And that's why obesity is kicking off and taking off in the United States of America. Like the average person, it shouldn't be that weight. And then now they're going to ask you and tell you, hey, you're fat shaming. No one's fat shaming. You're just telling the people what exactly it is. If you don't, humidity works. Because if you don't tell them what it is, you're dead wrong for that. Like you're literally dead wrong. If you tell them what it is, you might get a little bit of combativeness or maybe some rebellion, but at the same time, at least you told them the truth, because the truth hurts. The truth is you need to go to the gym. The truth is no man want a woman that's overweight. We like things pretty. And the same thing go for the fellas too. Don't no woman want no sloppy man, overweight, stomach bigger than everything else. Yeah, he might have some money, but she only gonna use you just for the money. As far as the looks and all of that, she might be talking to JoJo down the street that have no money but got the look. That's in the gym. That's maybe more masculine than you. Not on a financial level, but on a physical level, on the real world level. But let's continue.
Harmful chemicals in our food and everyday products, bombarded with estrogenic chemicals from plastics, junk food, and sedentary lifestyles, which is why testosterone levels have been declining for decades, with a 17% drop among 60-year-olds in 2004 compared to 1987. Sperm count and strength in men are also decreasing exponentially, with a 32.5% decrease in mean sperm concentration in the last 50 years. But here's the good news. There are ways to fight back, and one of the most effective solutions that I found is our sponsor Black Forest's Testosterone with Tonkat.
Or work out, eat right, be around people, and that's how you do it. Work out, eat right, be around people, get your vitamins in naturally, get some sunlight. You can't go wrong with that. But let's continue.
Part in stripping them of their dignity. Transport costs to their job, depending on the amount, could take a huge chunk of their salary, so that at the end of the day, they can only pay for rent or food and not both. A government grant could replace their salaries, and they earn more or less the same amount.
What's also helping to pay the bills is, as I said, the U.S. government, in particular, our disability programs for people who are unable to work. Those programs seem to have morphed away from their original humane intention and now seem to provide an alternative income source to regular employment for several millions, for millions and millions of these guys.
If a job doesn't support your basic needs of a home, food, and transport, it wears thin in justifying the effort for this job, especially if you're not getting any experience. And in most cases, if you go into the gig economy, absolutely no security either. All for minimum wage. There's even a new term called quietly quitting, where you do the bare minimum of your job to the point that you're almost rendered useless and you get fired or simply quit. The fact that this term even exists shows that attention is desperately needed to solve this problem. Right. And while this is happening, it's becoming more and more common for both partners in a household to be living the same life, or even with...
And this is what I don't like. This is the side effect of it. Young men embrace gender equality. What is that? Like, what is that? We're never been equal. That's something that's been pushed upon you. Ain't nothing equal about a man and a woman. Nothing. I don't know what people have told you, but it's nothing equal. There's no such thing as equality. Equality actually destroys the world, because what it shows is that, look, she can't play her position, which means that if she can't play her position and make sure everything is good as far as the nurturing with the kids and everything else, then you're not going to be able to play your position. So she's going to listen to herself. And the last time I checked, a woman cannot lead, not in that aspect. They cannot lead the whole family dynamics. Show me a woman that led the whole family dynamics and that was super successful. You're not going to find it. You're not going to find it. That's a problem that we have now with single family households. Not even family. You can't even put family on it. Single mother households. Look at what happened, the side effects of what happened to the kids. They go to jail. They don't understand consequences, right? They lack emotional control, emotional IQ. These are the side effects of not having the perfect check and balance of the nuclear family, which equality actually destroys the nuclear family, to be exact. So all these new terms that we're having, it really don't work. It really doesn't work. I don't know why people keep promoting these things as if it does, but in actuality, it does not. And don't believe me, look it up yourself. You try having 2 women in one household and see how far that's going to go. Hell, they're going to get tired of each other. You try having 2 men in a household and see if they can reproduce. Hell, they're going to get tired of each other as well. And those community has the largest amount of diseases in the world anyway. This is facts. This is statistics. So the only thing they're doing is spreading germs in my eyes. It's the only thing they're doing. But let's continue. Because they can't procreate. So what else you doing?
Most males' partners actually being the breadwinner. And whilst this isn't necessarily a problem at all, it is leading to some weird modern problems in the household. Men with families are actually switching their roles with their wives, except they're not actually doing what their wives would do if they were to stay at home.
When you look at what I guess in Britain is called NEET, N-E-E-T, do you say that?
See, that's the inverse. That's what don't work. But I can see why women is going to make more money than men, at least. No. Some men, let's just say weak men, right? Because statistics shows over the lifetime, men make way more money than women. These are facts, right? But nowadays, women have so much aid. Men don't have aid. If we do have aid, we don't use aid, right? A woman can always depend on the system. She can always depend on her parents. She can always, which is another form of assistance. She's basically dependent, right? A man can't depend on nothing but himself. Different ball game. Way different ball game. So to switch roles, how beneficial would that be? Now you're in your house. You probably don't want to come in your house. You feel like a beta male. This is that the third. It's like she's telling you what to do. How would that ever work? That won't ever work. That's why most of these women now, they just getting cats and dogs and decide to just live by themselves. But how long would that last? See, there's a side effect to every decision that you make. How long is that really going to last? And what's the side effects of you? Are you really lonely? Are you hyper depressed? You don't have anyone to touch you in the right way, not the wrong way. Who do you lean on? Who do you nurture then? So people not thinking about it. What, you going to nurture the animals? It means something psychologically wrong with you. That's all that means. You put animals over the human entity, which is one of the most greatest creation possible. I never understood that. But let's continue.
That also in Australia, neither employed nor in education or training. When you look at that huge group of well over 6 million prime age men, the story they're telling about their lives is really pretty devastating. It's pretty distressing. They basically don't do civil society. There's almost no worship, almost no volunteering, almost no charitable work. They've got a lot of time on their hands, but they report doing strangely little help around the home or help with other people at home.
Because of the situation, some men may feel a sense of worthlessness and resentment. Some men might take an hour to clean up the house and fetch the kids, but the rest of the day they sleep or play games. In some cases, the wives work and then come home to finish the chores their husbands were meant to do but didn't. And whilst this might cause huge marriage problems, it still feels better off to the husbands. If asked what they do for a living, saying they're on a break or working on a project beats the humiliation of saying they work at McDonald's with a useless degree on their back. Men without families have
every gym
Crazy.
bro
It's a side
or
effect.
personal trainer.
That's a side effect of that whole thing right there. Equality. It doesn't work. It never worked back in the day, and it's not going to work now. I don't think it's ever going to work. But let's continue. They
stop working because no woman would even want them anyway. They can't afford to date, they can't afford a family, and since their own families are supportive, it somehow justifies them giving up and staying at home, rather than facing these societal problems head on. With prices rising, getting hired becoming harder and harder by the day, and inequality becoming rampant within society, most men are just deciding to give up. Because instead of facing the hardships of having a job, it just seems so much easier to escape, whether it be tamely being online, playing video games all day, or hiding behind doing chores at home to show they still have a purpose and are doing their best. The point being that for many men in 2024, if they're gonna be disrespected and feel worthless, they may as well choose the easy way out than a battle. If respect had a currency on how it would affect your life directly, you would see a different picture. A man with a job with high pressure, long hours, and doing something that makes him feel degraded would be worth, say, $100, but staying at home playing games and escaping, all while being with the people he loves, is probably worth $200 because of how it affects him. This explains why more and more men are deciding to drop out of society rather than face it head on, as it just seems to be the easier.
I just say face it head on, fellas. That's my message. Just face it head on. Don't run from your problem, run towards it, right? Because if the world's having this problem, then it ain't nothing special. You ain't doing nothing wrong facing it. You know, you ain't doing nothing wrong at all facing it. Let's continue.
Path. If it's a choice between two paths, one that offers little satisfaction while the other provides comfort, it's easy to see why men are going this route. But the thing is, this is a terrible mistake. And this is creating problems that we've never seen before. If there is no emphasis or any facilitation of the need to aspire to something greater and the game seems rigged to most who are playing it, it's hardly a surprise record numbers of men are dropping out and giving up on the game entirely. The problem is that there's a huge group of men, roughly about 7 million in America between the ages of 25 and 55, who are not working and are actively not looking for work. Now, COVID certainly had a hand in accelerating these figures. One question posed to these dropouts was how many of these men were on pain medication, and almost half of these men admitted to taking pain medication daily. And aside from those who desperately need it, these figures could indicate that men are aimlessly numbing themselves to their new reality. And this is great for society, as people don't have to deal with this huge problem.
I tell people, leave all the additives alone. My advice, no vices. My advice, no vices. Don't drink, don't smoke, don't do anything that don't take any pills. Don't do anything that's going to slow you down. You need to do everything that's going to speed you up. You need to have a clear mind, right? Great vision. You need to be able to conquer things. You need to be able to work out. You need to be able to be disciplined. You need to be able to be focused. You need to be able to do these things in a world where distractions have ramped up 300 million%. It's easy to get distracted. All you got to do is grab your phone. You end up scrolling and looking at something you never seen before. And you're like, how did I get here? And now your eyes is glued to it, hypnotized, right? So my advice is no vices. No vices until you get to where you need to go. And even when you get to where you need to go, there's always another level. So don't get to where you need to go and then slip right back into the slumber. That's not going to work. That ain't never going to work. But let's continue. This is a great video. I wanted to cover this, right? Because it shows, it speaks about masculinity. And I know that masculinity is actually on the decline. You don't get praised for being masculine anymore. But last time I checked, why do you need people to tell you what you are and what you need to be? You don't need to look for that, for their, what they call it. I call it, their little small gratifications, instant gratification, instant reward. It's okay. We're going to struggle, right? Then we're going to thrive. And then we're going to look back and be like, oh, it was all worth it. Rather than somebody gave me this handout. It really wasn't worth much. I don't really appreciate these things. You know what I'm saying? It's a lack of, it's like you making something and you didn't create it on your own. You consuming something and you didn't manufacture it on your own. You got somewhere, but someone had to take you there. No, that's not manly at all. Get there. Because we all have the ability to do it. All of us. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I will never change. You can support the channel by hitting the link down below. It's AirTags, EMF protectors. Protect your family. Protect your loved ones. Hell, protect masculinity with this one. These things can protect against cancer and everything else. Y'all know that basically the rays that surround us, from the computers to the cell phone that's in everyone's pocket nowadays, right? It's emitting radiation that's unhealthy for you. You can block that emission by putting these stickers on your phone. And once you do those things, or you can put it on your necklace, anything along that nature, you can put it on your wrist. You can just put it anywhere, especially in your house. You can put it on your Wi-Fi router, and it actually lower down the emission by at least, Normally the average might go like 350, right, to 250. You might lower it down less than 10%, which is great. Which is great. It's awesome. So I tell people, use the link. You can get a great discount for using the link. That's how you support the channel as well. I appreciate people for sending me this video to react to. Let's go.
And what's even more shocking is that 40% of these men do have some kind of degree.
What sort of men
Whoa.
are in this group? Demographically, education.
That's crazy. So you even got mostly men with college degrees suffering. You see what I'm saying? That's crazy to me. So was school the answer? It can be if it's applied in the right sector. Yes, that could be true. But for the majority, it's not. And that's a fact. But let's continue. Because the world changes. What you studied 4 years ago may not be relevant today. Unless you're studying current events and futuristic trends, what's going to happen in the future to give you a step ahead, or something that you know, like math, for example, something that you know is universal that you're going to need regardless. That makes sense, like software engineering, something like that, like dealing with computers, anything along those nature, that makes sense. But everything that's not that really doesn't make sense. Even if you're doing some form of business, that makes sense. Entrepreneurship, that always makes sense because this is how America was made. So things like those make sense. But anything other than that, nonsense. Literally nonsense.
Family structure, ethnicity. Who makes up this group?
Surprisingly large representation of guys with college or even college degrees. 40% of this group has at least some college, and as I recall, about a fifth or a sixth are college grads.
The decision to be in this state is closely related to changing times. We've already discussed the effects of brain rot in another upload, which disabled problem solving in Generation Z and has already presented problems in finding jobs. They are quick to quit at the first difficult task and move on to find something else, but what happens when options run dry and they find themselves simply stuck?
So I think we can all agree that YouTubers make crazy money.
That's why it's good not to quit, especially on something that you like doing. We're not saying the road's going to be easy. It's nothing easy. But what comes easy, make sure that you have a hard life at the very end of the road.
Limbo. Giving up seems to be the next step, and accepting that is easy when they're discouraged by the situation. Working off of surveys, the data compiled indicates that these men are not only not working, but they're cutting themselves off from their communities, or there's no incentivization for them to even have any community in the first place. They're hiding out because going out would mean meeting new people who might oppose their lifestyles. It makes it uncomfortable. Why leave when you can just aimlessly watch brain rot content and numb yourself with weed or pain medication and stay inside in the warm comfort of home? And any sexual needs you have can be satisfied with pixels on a screen. This lifestyle is increasingly becoming more and more normal for men in the West. But what's important to note is that men don't want to be this way. It's a horrible lifestyle, it's depressing, it's atomizing. What this really is just a coping mechanism or a form of self-defense against a society that's becoming increasingly hostile to these men. Up until recently, the problem has been invisible. These figures weren't shown in any statistics or surveys because they slipped through the cracks until very recently. So why did they slip through the cracks? Well, it's easy to see. They simply don't fit the victim criteria. Some have degrees, they're in the prime of their lives, and it was their choice to quit. It's easily overlooked and only comes to light as the numbers rise. Nicholas Upstart wrote a book called Men Without Work, and has since exposed and addressed the problems in his book. He says he is trained to look for hidden in plain sight problems, which is how he stumbled upon this issue. You see, these men are not causing trouble, at least for now, and they don't seem to be drawing any attention to themselves. On the contrary, they keep to themselves. So surveys and statistics just don't include them at all. They don't even register on the scale, and people in society think this is a joke issue. And it's also reasonable to conclude that some of these men may work, but in the underground economy, work like formal cash jobs or even shady illegal ways of making money. But of course, this is just a minor portion of these men. We need to address the problem head on. How is the situation getting this bad? These men have completely lost their purpose in life. All of their duty, their hopes, their responsibilities, their own dignity and value.
That's one of my things that I push on my channel as well, right? That's one reason why I created this hat. School churches, how far is that going to get you? You're nothing without your purpose. If you're not walking in your purpose, what you like doing, what you plan on leaving behind to help the next generation and or to add value, then what's the point? You're literally pointless. And there's no point of being pointless when you're supposed to be purposeful, right? Filled with purpose, filled with abundance, filled with all these things, right? And I believe we all can do it. Like I say, just because the stats say this, it doesn't mean that you right, are the stats. You can literally change that. You can be the person to change it. And it starts out with you. Obama is not Obama. Kamala Harris ain't going to save you. Trump is not going to save you. The only person who's going to save you is you as a man. So once you know that and you have that mindset, get to work. Get to work. It is 5:57 in the morning and I'm uploading my videos. Get to work. And after this, I'm not finished. I then got to go to work. So this is all part of it. This is all part of it while building a brand and building everything else in the meantime, in between time, right? One leads to the other. Know that. But let's continue.
Being completely decimated at the moment, and we're seeing this with the form of radicalization online, growing hatred and division, and a general apathy towards society as a whole. And the longer this is ignored, the harder it's going to be addressed down the line. Right. More men today than ever feel disconnected, disillusioned, and left behind by a world that seems increasingly indifferent to their struggles. While GDP numbers and employment stats may sound like an easy, good solution on paper, especially to government bureaucracies, it will never really fix the reality of the situation for normal people. The real challenge we face today in the West is to find purpose and meaning again, to have any reason to even want to participate and achieve greatness in society. We should focus on creating environments where people can thrive, where beauty, philosophy, and higher noble pursuits are actively encouraged by the cities and countries that we inhabit, which would give...
And look at it like this. This is another fact I wanted to leave you guys with today. Men create most of the things that day-to-day life needs in order to be considered a good life or great life. So if men begin to stop innovating and stop creating, then what? Life itself is going to decline. Let me repeat. We are a direct connection to that. Life itself will begin to decline. So all you weak men out here, don't be that. There's no point of being that. There's no point of being that. You got to be super strong. I was told when times get tough, get even tougher. That's the only thing that makes sense. When times get tough, get even tougher. Let's continue.
Millions of men a reason to care again.
That right there was a great take. Once again, give credit when credit's due. Go visit Moon. On that note, peace, blessings, and love. Smash that like button. Tell a friend and tell a friend. This is the beginning. This is not the end. I'm going to pin some links at the top of the chat that can add value into your life, right? I appreciate the support. I appreciate the PayPals. I appreciate the Cash App. I appreciate everything. I appreciate y'all sending me the emails for me to react to these type of things. I appreciate my community. Go check me out in TikTok. I'm going to build Twitter up next, but the TikTok is looking good. Now let's go to Twitter and let's go to these other online platforms so we can build. On that note, peace, blessings, and love. And remember, positivity over negativity always. Man up and you can do it, right? Build, conquer, and create. As a man, you must. Don't let nothing stop you, because when times get tough, get